Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to have a look at another collaboration beer. So this one is half Swedish on the home side, half Latvian on the away side. Both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel before, albeit the Swedish brewery quite a bit more frequently than the Latvian one, but I have had very nice beers from both of these breweries in the past. So I would say that both of these breweries are quite well known for their kind of New England hazy IPAs. The Swedish brewery is also well known for their big juicy fruity sours, although I have seen those from the Latvian brewery as well, but I've not tried any of those yet. But yeah, this is a style of beer that I know the Swedish brewery does very, very well, and the Latvian brewery has a very good reputation, generally speaking, too. So I'm quite curious to see what this one is going to have in store for us. So hopefully this is another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review. And as always, I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for the home side of things then, we are going to head up towards Gothenburg once again. Göteborg, as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up there on the west coast. Got to get that Gothenburg catchphrase in when we're reviewing Gothenburg beers because it is just channel tradition these days. And for this review then, we are going to have a look at another beer from Duckpond Brewing. So this particular beer is called Tropical Darkness. It comes in at 9% ABV, and this one is an Imperial Gose with raspberry, blackcurrant, mango, passion fruit and vanilla. But it's also brewed in collaboration with Ārpus Brewing Company, who are from the Riga area in Latvia. So yeah, this I think should be pretty nice. As I've said before, Duckpond Brewing for me are one of the best kind of fruity, juicy, sour type breweries that you're going to find in Sweden at the moment. So if those are the kind of beers that you're into, along with the New England IPAs, they are one that you're definitely going to have to check out. Arpus, of course, have a very good reputation. I've had a New England IPA from them before, and I've also had an Imperial Stout. And both of those were very, very nice actually. I've not tried one of their sour beers, but I will need to try and pick up something else from Arpus in the next little while. But it's definitely cool to see that Latvia is starting to produce more breweries, of course. We have been looking at a few more Latvian beers on the channel in fairly recent times. But yeah, this beer was released as part of the Lokal och Småskaligt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for March of 2022. I believe the exact release date was the 7th of March. But yeah, Duckpond released a couple of beers this month, so you will see me review another one in the next few videos. But yeah, let's crack on with this one then and see how we go. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Duckpond Brewing, and my link to the one that I've done from Arpus as well. We will no doubt add more to those lists in the near future, but probably Duckpond you'll see a little bit more regular than Arpus. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you and one for the Latvian beers. This one will appear in both of those because it is dual nationality, and we'll add to those whenever we get the opportunity. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then, to tell you a little bit about Duckpond Brewing first off then, since these guys are the home brewery in this case. So Duckpond Brewing were previously known as Mikrofonbryggeriet, or the Microphone Brewery in English, and this brewery is the brainchild of Nikola Sarcevic, who is a singer and songwriter for the band Millencolin, which has been making sort of punk rock music since 1993. But the band was originally based in Örebro, which is out to the west of Stockholm. And then they took a break and Nikola moved over to Gothenburg, Göteborg. But in 2013, he began homebrewing with his friend Christian Silva while he was studying international marketing in Skövde. But the two were brewing just using a very kind of small 20-litre kit, and then Nikola went down to Berlin in Germany for a 2-week brewing course. But the two of them then started the company together, and it was based for a while in Nikola's house, and at this point they were brewing 200-litre batches. But they changed their name a little bit later on in the summer of 2019, because they felt that they just needed a more kind of anglicised name, because a lot of people couldn't spell Microphone Brigeriet properly. So yeah, they decided to change it to something a wee bit more anglicised. But that year, in 2019, since when they changed their name, they produced around 70,000 litres, and these guys are also one of the co-owners of the Wizard Brewing brand, along with Morgendagens, who are another very good kind of fruity, juicy sour beer type brewery in the Gothenburg area. But initially these guys were producing most of their beers at Ārpus Brewing and then at Odd Island as well. So Ārpus are out at Jonsered in the kind of east of the city, whereas Odd Island are a little bit to the south. I think they're still based in Mölndal, if I remember rightly. But these days, Duckpond Brewing have their own premises in Kungsten in Gothenburg city itself, and they hired Magnus Laurén as their new brewer quite recently. So they have been producing a lot more volume and stuff, and they've been exporting their beers quite a little bit as well. But as of March 2022, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have released around 55 different kinds of beer under the Duckpond Brewing name, and I think before that there was about 20 or 25 had been released under the Microphone Brigeriet name. So yeah, I'm not sure if they've kind of re-released some of the old Microphone stuff with new names or whatever under Duckpond, but yeah, these guys do some very nice stuff, and they have, yeah, that means they'll have produced around kind of 70-80 beers, something like that. But yeah, as I said earlier, this brewery is one that you really should check out if you're interested in the New England hazy IPAs or the big kind of fruity, juicy, sour Berliner Weisse, Gose type things. They do some really, really nice examples within those style brackets. But yeah, that is all I can really tell you about Duckpond Brewing for the moment. So if you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can, of course, check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on to the Latvian side of things. And I will apologise in advance for any bad pronunciations of the Latvian words in my brewery notes here. So, Ārpus Brewing Company, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Latvia, and the company was founded back in 2017 by two homebrewers. So this is Girts Tihumirovs and Vladimirs Berezins. So they started off as a gypsy brewery, and they were based primarily in the Riga area at this point, and in the first year they brewed at 4 different breweries around the whole country, and they said that this helped them really kind of understand about different brewing equipment, different brewing techniques, and so on. They felt that this really helped them kind of grow as professional brewers. But over the following year or two, they kind of just they kept getting their beers out there. They started exporting. Ārpus Brewing Company, for many, was the first brewery that many would have heard of from Latvia, of course. But in 2019 they received funding from the Latvian Investment and Development Agency and also the EU Agricultural Fund for Rural Development, and at this point they invested around 200,000 euros in their own brewery in Eimuri, which is in the Adaži region to the northeast of Riga. But the new brewery has helped them increase their output quite dramatically, and they apparently export around 90% of their beer. So yeah, that's pretty impressive, but that is very common in the Baltic countries actually. You have to remember that these countries are very small in terms of population. Estonia is only like 1.3 million. I think Latvia is about 2 million, and Lithuania I think is about 3.5 million, something like that. So a lot of the craft breweries in the Baltic countries export their beers quite a lot because they produce too much for the local demand actually. But yeah, so these guys export in the region of 90% of their output apparently. But over the last few years they've continued to develop new recipes, export their beer to new places, and as of March 2022, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 60 different kinds of beer. And like I say, they produce a lot of really nice New England hazy sort of IPAs. I've had an Imperial Stout from them, which was very nice. And I think they do 1 or 2 sour beers as well, but I've not really seen those. I'll try to get something from Arpus the next time I'm over in Copenhagen, because I know that Kiosk and Beer Hive do get stuff from Arpus quite regularly. So I will make a point of doing another Arpus review for you quite soon. But the name of the brewery, Arpus, that means outside of the box in English if you translate it. So yeah, outside of the box brewery, and you'll see that and their little symbol that I'll show you in a minute. But yeah, a very good brewery, and as I say, probably the first brewery from Latvia that many people will have heard of in the craft beer world. But yeah, that is all I can tell you about Ārpus Brewing Company for the moment. Again, if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and have a little look at this beer itself then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork before we open it up. You can see the lights coming in, the sunshine's coming in there. But yeah, the artwork on this one is pretty nice actually. But yeah, you can see it. There are the brewery symbols there. There you can see Duckpond on the back, and then yeah, Arpus outside of the box. So yeah, as we say, two very nice breweries. The artwork on this one is a little bit different from what we've had from Duckpond in the past, but it does look pretty nice. But yeah, this one, Tropical Darkness Imperial Gose at 9% ABV. It said on the Untappd page that this is the strongest Gose that that they've ever done at Duckpond Brewing. So yeah, it should be pretty cool. When I actually bought this, I didn't know that it was a collaboration with Ārpus Brewing actually. But yeah, the two of them, when I looked up what they were, they both sounded very, very interesting. I felt I hadn't had something from Duckpond in quite a while, so I think I've still got the Duckpond beer from last month that I need to review. I've got this one and the other one from this month as well. I think the other one's called Flipper and the other one is called Duck Deal. So you'll see me review those in a couple of videos time. But as we said earlier, this one is a 9% Imperial Gose. It's brewed with raspberry, blackcurrant, mango, passion fruit and vanilla. So it should be pretty nice, this one. If memory serves me correctly, I think I paid about 40, maybe 45 Swedish kronor for this. So that translates to roughly €4, €4.50, somewhere in the region of £4 sterling, maybe $5, $5.50 American, something like that. So yeah, quite fairly decent price for what it is actually, a 9% Imperial Gose, but we know that this is a style that Duckpond do very, very well. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Very, very curious to see what this is going to have in store for us. So yeah, we'll get it out and into the glass. Let's look at that. So one thing, as I've said to you before, for me, these big, fruity Gose Berliner Weisse type beers, these are always very, very nice actually. I find them very straight shooting a lot of the time in terms of their flavour profile and aroma, but if they're done well, they're just absolutely beautiful, beautiful beers. I always enjoy my sour beer reviews that I do for you every month actually. It feels like a wee while since I've reviewed a proper sour beer like this, come to think of it. But yeah, it certainly looks very, very nice, this one. So as you can see, this beer is poured with about a maybe about 1 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say very kind of bright reddish pink head there. There are a few kind of small bubbles in there, but some bigger ones as well, and you can see it's a nice big bubble too. But I mean, overall, this beer looks very, very nice, I have to say. If we shine the light through it, it is pretty much opaque, but when the beer contains so much wheat and oats and things, that is why. But remember, the colour of your beer depends on 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining the EBC rating. 2, the length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or any adjuncts that you put in are also going to affect the colour of the beer as well. But when it comes to Berliner Weisses and Goses and stuff like this as well, it really just kind of the adjuncts are the things that really do it here. So the colour that you're getting out of this one is most definitely from a combination of the raspberry and the black currants. So yeah, I think it's fair to describe this one as a nice kind of burgundy maroon colour actually. It's almost like a kind of dark candy apple red, or the wine red that you get on Gibson SG guitars. It looks very nice, but yeah, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking toward the bottom of the glass there, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head, but you can see the head has kind of calmed down a little bit since we've got the beer out and into the glass. But yeah, overall it looks pretty nice, and this is kind of the appearance you would expect for one of these big fruity juicy Imperial Gose type beers actually. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one. This does look very, very nice. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, this one, I have to say. Yeah. This is definitely up there with the standards that we've had from Duckpond Brewing before. I really, really like how this one goes together. It works very, very nicely. But yeah, it's got everything you would expect from this style. And as I've said before, I really find these Berliner Weisse and Gose beers to be really straightforward in terms of their aroma and flavour profile, but if they're done well, they're absolutely beautiful. So let's try and break this one down for you and describe it a wee bit more. So it has, just to give you a summary, it has everything you'd expect. It's got that lovely kind of petit filou, yogurty type backbone to it. There's lovely juicy fruity characters in there. You can smell a little bit of the softer tropical fruit in behind, but you get, I think, the berries, the raspberries and raspberry. I was going to say blackberries there, but the raspberries and the blackcurrants, of course, do take the lead on the fruity side of things with this, and you do just get a little touch of kind of grassy character out of it as well. But I don't think this one doesn't contain hops, and that's quite common amongst these Nordic breweries that they don't contain that their beers don't contain hops. But yeah, aroma wise, this beer comes across very, very nicely. So yeah, backbone of the beer then. You can smell a little touch of bread crust in the backbone of the beer, which you're absolutely going to get. There's a lovely kind of soft, but kind of fluffy, white bready character out of this one. But then, on top of that, you can smell that the wheat is kind of thickening out that white bready character. But on top of that, you get that lovely kind of petit filou yogurt type thing. I always say this, these beers remind me of the Munch Bunch yogurts that my mum used to put in my lunchbox when I was a wee boy going to school. It really reminds me of all that. But yeah, the aroma that comes out of the malty base on this one is lovely. I love that big kind of yogurty feel that you get out of these beers. There's some really good breweries doing these things in Sweden these days, by the way. You know, Duckpond, Morgondagens, Brewski are very capable in this kind of series as well, or this style bracket. Elm 11 down here in Skåne, they are doing some awesome stuff. But yeah, the aroma of coming out of this one is absolutely beautiful, I have to say. I really like how this beer goes about its business from that side of things. But yeah, it's absolutely lovely. The malty side of this beer is really nice. I get maybe a teeny little hint of like a Werther's Original kind of butter candy type sweetness out of this one. But yeah, I really like how the malty side of things in this one goes together. It's just got that lovely big creamy yogurty petit filou sort of thing that you would expect of this style of beer. Yeah, absolutely lovely. Don't think there's anything else we need to say about the malty side of it actually, but let's focus on the kind of green component, if you like, and the fruity side of things. So I say green component. These beers, as I say, don't have fruit in. They don't have hops in them. It tells you on the back of the thing here. They've got to put the ingredients on them in Sweden. So this one does not have hops listed as an ingredient. But yeah, that's one of the things is when you have sour beers, it's quite often a case that if you put fresh hops in them, it's going to take away a little bit from the kind of sour side of the beer. So quite often, a number of the more modern craft breweries don't tend to do that. They just leave the hops out of them. So it can give you a little bit more complexity if you put late addition and dry hopping in them. But yeah, it's not going to make that much difference to the beer, I don't think. But Vault City do it. Vault City back home in Scotland like to do that, and I think Holy Goat do it as well, come to think of it. But yeah, the green component for me with this one, you still get, I always feel you do get a little bit of a kind of grassy note out of the beer in this, which is great. So yeah, you get a lovely little bit of grassy character to this one, but you also get, how do you say, yeah, there's a lovely little bit of grassy note in there, and maybe just a wee teeny bit of a floral kind of thing, but you can smell almost I always find with raspberries at least, you can always smell a little bit of the kind of wood, the bramble actually, so I get a little bit of that out of this one. But yeah, green component wise, it is kind of quite nice, I have to say. I like how this goes together. So on the fruity side of things, this is where it's quite interesting in this beer. So you can absolutely smell a little bit of the soft mango and passion fruit in behind this one. But of course, the berry side of the beer really takes the lead. So for me, yeah, you can smell the soft kind of mango, the soft sort of passion fruit in there, and you've also got just that little bit of a sharper raspberry character coming out of the beer, which I very much like. Underneath that, of course, you've got a little bit of blackcurrant And I really do enjoy how that kind of comes out. I mean, this beer, in terms of its fruitiness, it's actually very well balanced. You get that soft, smooth, tropical note in there, but you also get the juicy blackcurrant and the sharper raspberry sitting on top. I think this one goes together very, very nicely in terms of its aroma. But it's certainly up there with the standard that we're used to from Duckpond. I can't really speak for the Arpus sour beers, but these ones are definitely they are very, very nice beers, I have to say, in my experience from Duckpond. But as I always say, take a little bit of time to ponder over the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But I think we should have a taste of this one then and see how we go. So this one is the Tropical Darkness, an Imperial Gose at 9% ABV with raspberry, blackcurrant, mango, passion fruit and a bit of vanilla from Duckpond Brewing and in Gothenburg, Göteborg here in Sweden, and Ārpus Brewing from near Riga over in Latvia. Yeah, let's get stuck into this one then. Slanja, skål, cheers, or as they would say in Latvian, prieka. There we go. Ooh. Damn. I'm going to say straight away, that is a very, very nice beer. It has got quite a kind of tart impact to it, but you always have to bear in mind with sour beers, when you first take them in, your palate is going to take a wee bit of time to just adjust to that sour impact, and you'll always find that with these. They kind of smoothen out and juicen up very, very nicely. So yeah, love these. I do love these big, fruity, juicy sour beers. So, yeah, I think this one, this is very, very nice. It's difficult to say whether this would be one of my favourites that I've had from Duckpond in the sour beer category, but it certainly would push close to that. I've had really good sour beers from these guys for a long time, so yeah, this is, I've always been impressed with these, but this one, the Imperial Gose thing here is very, very nice. That's one of the things about these beers. I don't find that the Imperial Goses drink too differently to the kind of lower alcohol ones. But yeah, I'd be curious about that. I wonder, I've not had too many kind of lighter fruit Imperial Goses, if that makes sense, you know, like mango and passion fruit based ones. They always tend to have a little bit of berry, so I do wonder if the berry covers up the booziness in this style a little bit more. But yeah, this is lovely. It's a very creamy, very juicy, quite tart Imperial Gose, so it certainly gets a massive thumbs up from me. This is a beautiful, beautiful beer. So yeah, thumbs up to both Arpus and Duckpond for this. This is worth trying. Get yourself a can of this. But I think it would be a shame, actually, if this, just on the basis of this, I'm really quite impressed with this. It'd be a shame if this beer didn't make a reappearance at some point. I think this is very nice. But yeah, as I say, these are very straight shooting beers, but when they're done nicely, it just works. So let's try and break down the flavour of this one for you then, and just describe it a wee bit more in depth. So, middle third of your palate, you can feel there's a nice little bit of a kind of bread crusty sort of base there to this beer, and that again works very well, like lovely little bit of kind of bread crusty character there, but it's quite minimal. On top of that, you get a bit of a soft white bread, but then you can feel the wheat and the oats really going together. So the wheat thickens everything out, but then you've got that big, thick, creamy, oaty character just sitting on top of it, and it's absolutely, it's just absolutely lovely, this one. It's got a huge, big, thick creaminess to it. So yeah, bread crust, white bread, and those layers are quite thin, I should point out. Then a nice kind of thicker wheaty there. It's a very smooth wheat you get out of this. Then the big kind of oaty creaminess there. And within that kind of oaty creaminess, if you move toward the kind of front half of that front third of your palate, that's where you get the vanilla. I wasn't picking up the vanilla so much in the aroma with this one, but I can really pick it up just toward the kind of front the front of that middle third of the palate there. But yeah, there's also, for me, there's a teeny little bit of a sort of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing in the middle of the palate too. And at 9%, that's to be expected. I always find that alcohol flavours come out as a little bit of a kind of brown sugary sort of thing. But yeah, on top of the oaty layer, it gives you this impression of like a big thick petit filou yogurt. As I say, a wee bit of vanilla in there as well. And then on top of that, you have a wee bit of that kind of Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. It's absolutely lovely how this beer goes together, and as I say, it gets a big, big thumbs up from me. So yeah, the malty side of this one is very, very nicely done. And as I say, it's very thick, but it doesn't strike me as being that much thicker than the other ones that I've had from Duckpond in the past. And as I say, I can't speak for the Arpus beers, but mouthfeel wise, this is lovely. We'll come to that later though. But that covers the middle third of the palate then. So let's focus on the back third of the palate. It's actually very, very smooth, this beer, in that sense. You do notice a little bit of more bread crust in the border region between middle third and back third of the palate. But then as you go into that back third of the palate, you can feel that the flavour does just get a little bit taller. So on the back third of the palate, you can feel there's a wee touch more bread crusty note there. You can feel there's a slightly kind of taller, higher, soft white bready character there. You can feel the dense kind of wheat on top of that, and some of the oats just creep in as well. But on top of all of that, you do have a little bit of that kind of yeasty character to the beer as well. But the yeast for me in this one's quite straightforward. It just feels like a kind of slightly more dense, thick, white bready note. So yeah, I really do like how that goes together in this one. So the yeasty note in this is good. But yeah, on the back third of the palate, you can feel the flavour is a little bit taller. Then as you come further forward into the middle third of the palate, it just kind of condenses down a little bit actually. So yeah, you get a slightly more dense flavour out of it, but it works very, very well. So yeah, on the I think that's everything we need to say about the malty yeasty side of things. Let's focus on the kind of fruity and green component, if we can call it that. So back corners of the palate, I think there's a teeny little bit of earthiness there, but then as you come further forward, you do get a little bit of a green component, a little bit of a grassy kind of thing, especially around the front curve of the palate. But these notes, of course, are very, very minimal. But let's focus on the front third of the palate then, and the fruity side of the beer. So the border region between middle third, front third and middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of bready build up there. Then you can feel that the base of that beer, the front third of your palate, is a little bit more of a kind of smooth white bread and oaty, creamy sort of thing. And on top of that, you get all these big juicy fruity characters. But the thing you have to remember with beer is that when you add fruit into it as an adjunct, quite often the fruity flavours will spread around the sides of the palate too, and quite often if you get fruit IPAs, they will suppress a little bit of the green component and the bitterness of the hoppy character. But you can feel the fruit just spreading around the sides of your palate here as well, which is why I didn't spend so much time on it. But let's focus on the front third of the palate then. So you can feel, I think the sort of mango is forming the backbone of that front third of your palate. So you've got a bit of mango in there. Then toward the back of the front third of your palate, you'll get a wee bit of the kind of stronger passion fruity character of it. So yeah, soft mango in there, a wee bit of passion fruit, and then as you move further forward onto the front half of the front third of your palate, it has a bit more of a kind of black currant sort of vibe to it. You definitely get that juicier black currant, but then sitting on top of all of it, you get the nice kind of slightly more oily but tart raspberry, and I think the tart raspberry spreads round the sides of the palate there, but you've also got some of the kind of black currant just sitting underneath it too. So I think round the sides of your palate, you can feel the black currant just spreading there. You've got the raspberry sitting on top of it, and you've got these nice kind of tropical fruit notes as well. So yeah, I do really like how this all fits together. It gets a big thumbs up from me, as I said, on this one. So yeah, this one, I'm quite impressed with this beer, I have to say. And I think overall it does lean a little bit more toward the berries and the currants the more that you drink of it, but you can certainly get the passion fruit, the soft, smooth passion fruit and mango backbone there. I don't find the passion fruit all that pungent, to be honest with you, but I think it's, as we say, I think it's a little bit more, like you do get that smooth note in there, but when you have passion fruit in a kind of more oaty, wheaty malt base like this, it is going to be a lot smoother. So that's worth bearing in mind. But this beer for me definitely leans toward, yeah, it certainly leans toward the more kind of smooth, it leans towards the kind of sharper berries and the juicier currants, but definitely you can pick up the tropical fruit in there. I think that's everything we need to say about the actual flavour of this beer. So let's round off with the mouthfeel then. So, mouthfeel wise, this beer, I'd say that it's kind of bottom end of full bodied for me. It goes together really nicely. So yeah, bottom end of full bodied. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It is just a big, massive, thick, creamy mouthfeel that you get out of this one. It's absolutely lovely. Yeah, in terms of IBUs and things like that, I think technically speaking this beer will be 0 IBUs, but you'll probably get a couple out of it, even though it'll be 5 IBUs or something daft like that. So yeah, you maybe get a tiny little bit of bitterness out of it. But as we said, the malt base is very, very smooth. It's got a lovely little bit of sweetness to it as well. It really feels like that kind of petit filou yogurt type thing, but you get a nice little bit of sweetness and smoothness, if you like, from vanilla. I'm never sure whether you should count vanilla as a sweet flavour or a savoury flavour, because it's kind of somewhere in the middle if you think about it. But yeah, anyway. So the fruity side of the beer, as we said, this beer does have a little bit of that sour tartness when you take it in. Just check how much I'm getting of that after we've had quite a wee bit of it. Yeah, no, it is quite, it does have a good little bit of that tartness when you still take it in, but underneath that, of course, you get a bit of juiciness from the currants and a bit of a more kind of smooth fruity character from the tropical side of things too. But yeah, I do like how this goes together. So yeah, a little bit of grassiness in there. As it says, I get a little bit of an impression of a grassiness too, but yeah, lovely smooth, slightly sweet malt base, big juicy fruity notes there, a little bit of sour character, but overall I think it is fair to say that this is an absolutely lovely sour beer, this one. So it gets a massive thumbs up from me. This is, yeah, potentially the best one, the best sour beer I've had from Duckpond yet, and it certainly gives me a very good impression of Arpus too. So I'll need to make the effort to try one of their sour beers actually. But yeah, that is all I really need to say about this one. So this was the Tropical Darkness, a 9% Imperial Gose with raspberry, blackcurrant, mango, passion fruit and a bit of vanilla from Duckpond Brewing in Gothenburg up on the Swedish west coast, and Arpus, who are from a little place called Eimuri, close to Riga over in Latvia. Awesome beer, and one that I definitely recommend that you try. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Duckpond and from Arpus. Give me some other Latvian brewery recommendations to check out as well, because I'd love to explore Latvian craft beer a little bit more. But in the meantime, check out my social media, check out Duckpond and Arpus's, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Slàinte, skål, cheers, catch you guys very, very soon.